The arena was silent, the air heavy with fear and tension. 1,000 alien eyes watched as the human stepped forward, his boots pressed against the cracked stone floor, each step echoing like thunder. He was alone, a stranger in a land where humans were mocked as weak, yet here he stood face to face with the alien chief. The chief was massive, his skin armored like iron plates, his horns curved like blades, his breath was hot with rage. The crowd cheered his name, they shouted for blood. No one believed the human had a chance. Some even laughed, whispering that this would be the shortest duel in history. But the human did not laugh. He did not shake. He lifted his weapon. Just a simple steel blade, worn and scratched. Nothing compared to the chief's glowing energy spear. Yet his eyes burned with something no alien could understand. Determination. The elder of the tribe raised his staff. His voice rang out across the arena. This is the duel of honor. Winner takes the chief's life, his title, and his blood-bound legacy. The crowd roared again. Their law was old and unbreakable. No one questioned it. The duel began with a crash. The alien chief rushed forward, his spear blazing with power. He struck with speed that made the ground shake. Sparks flew as steel met energy. The human staggered but did not fall. He twisted, rolled, and rose again. His movements were strange. To the aliens, not like their style of combat. The chief swung again, aiming to crush him. The spear cut across the stone, leaving a glowing scar. But the human ducked under it. His blade flashed and sliced against the chief's arm. The crowd gasped. No one had ever cut the chief before. The alien roared with fury. His strength doubled. He smashed the human back, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain burned through his chest. His ribs felt broken. The crowd cheered wildly. They thought it was over. But the human pushed himself up. Blood dripped from his mouth. Yet his eyes never lost that fire. He whispered, under his breath, "I can't lose, not here." He remembered every insult, every laugh at his weakness, and now all of it fueled him. The chief came again, his spear like lightning. But the human did not step back. This time he moved forward, straight into danger. The crowd gasped in shock. The blade of steel clashed against the glowing spear. Sparks blinded them all, and then, suddenly, the spear cracked. Silence fell. The chief stared at his broken weapon in disbelief. Before he could react, the human drove his sword upward, straight into the chief's chest. A cry tore through the arena. The alien giant stumbled. His knees hit the ground, and then he fell. The crowd froze. No one spoke. They could not believe what they had just seen. The alien chief was dead, killed by a single human. The elder stepped forward once more. His voice was heavy. The duel is finished. By the law of our ancestors, the victor now claims not only the chief's title, but also his 3 wives. The human froze. He had expected victory or death, not this. The crowd erupted again. Some cheered, some shouted in anger. And 3 alien women stepped from the shadows, their faces hidden by veils. The human's heart pounded. He had won the duel, but the true price of his victory was only beginning to reveal itself. The arena was still filled with silence. The alien chief's body lay on the ground, his lifeless eyes staring at nothing. For the first time in generations, their mighty leader had been defeated, and not by another alien, but by a human. The crowd could not believe it. Some stood frozen, others screamed in rage. Mothers pulled their children closer. Warriors gripped their weapons. Whispers spread like fire. Impossible. A human cannot win. It must be trickery. Yet the truth was in front of their eyes. The chief was dead. The human stood with his chest rising and falling heavily. His blade was covered with blood. His arm shook, not only from exhaustion, but also from the weight of what had just happened. He had survived the duel, he had done the impossible, but what now? The elder raised his staff once more. His voice shook the arena. By the ancient law, the victor is bound to inherit the legacy of the fallen chief, his land, his power, his bloodline. The elder paused, his eyes dark and heavy. And his wives, the human's heart stopped. He turned sharply, thinking he had misheard. "What?" he whispered. But the crowd roared. The law was clear. It had been carved into stone for centuries. Whoever killed the chief must take his place. That meant not only ruling the tribe, but also marrying the chief's 3 wives. From the shadows, 3 figures walked forward. They were silent, their steps graceful, veils covering their faces. Every eye in the arena turned to watch them. The whispers grew louder. The first wife, the proud one. The second, the broken one. The third, the quiet one. Each had a story known only to the tribe. The human gripped his sword tightly, his breath caught in his throat. This was not victory. It was a chain. He had fought for survival, but now he was being forced into something he never wanted. His voice broke the silence. I did not fight for wives. I fought to live. But the elder's eyes were cold. Our law does not care for your wishes, human. You have taken his life, you must also take his bond. Refuse, and you will be cursed by every soul here. You will not walk out alive. The 3 wives stopped before him. They lifted their veils one by one. The first wife's eyes burned with hatred. Her beauty was sharp, her jaw strong. You killed him, she hissed. I will never forgive you. Her voice was like a blade. The second wife trembled. Her face was softer, but her eyes carried sorrow. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she looked at him. You may have freed me, she whispered, or doomed me again. Her voice cracked with pain. The third wife was different. She neither cried nor cursed. Her eyes were calm, almost unreadable. She tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle. Finally, she spoke in a soft tone. The law has chosen you, but the law is not what it seems. Her words were strange, leaving questions in the air. The human's chest tightened. He felt the weight of 1,000 alien eyes upon him. This was not the end of the battle, it was only the beginning. He could sense it in the air. The people were divided, some demanding his death, others curious to see if he could lead. The elder pointed his staff toward the village gates. Take your new bride's human. Tonight you do not sleep as a stranger, tonight you sleep as the chief. The crowd erupted in a storm of noise, cheers, screams, curses. It was chaos. The human stared at the 3 women, each with a different fire in her eyes, and he realized the truth. He had won the duel, but the true war had just begun. The night was heavy with firelight. Torches burned across the alien village as drums echoed in the distance. The human was marched through the wide gates, not as a prisoner, but not as a free man either. The people stared, their faces filled with hate, fear, or curiosity. He had killed their chief, yet by their own law he was now bound to replace him. Behind him walked the 3 wives, veils swaying with each step. Their silence was louder than the drums. The human felt their eyes on his back, sharp as knives. He wanted to run, to escape into the night. But he knew the tribe would hunt him, like prey. The law had tied him down. Inside the great hall, carved from black stone, the elder stood waiting. His staff glowed faintly in the dark. Human, he said, you must listen well. Victory has given you power, but power comes with chains. You are bound by the law of blood. You are the new chief. You cannot break this bond without breaking yourself. The human clenched his fists. His voice was rough. I don't want this. I don't want wives forced on me. I don't want to be your chief. His words echoed through the hall, but the elder's face was cold. Choice is an illusion here, human. The duel of honor binds the victor. You cannot walk away. The wives stepped forward. The first wife threw back her veil, her eyes burning. You stole him from me. You think I will ever call you my husband? Never. I will see you bleed before I see you rule. Her voice was full of fury. The human met her gaze and knew her hatred was real. The second wife's veil fell next. Her tears shimmered in the firelight. I begged for freedom many times, but no one listened. Now you stand here. Do you bring freedom or only another cage? Her voice was soft, but her sorrow was heavier than iron. The third wife lifted her veil slowly, her face calm, her eyes steady. Unlike the others, she did not curse or cry. Instead, she whispered, "The law binds you, but the law is not what you think. There are secrets hidden in its roots, secrets the tribe fears you will learn soon." Her words sent a chill into the human's chest. The elder struck his staff against the stone floor. Sparks flared. It is done. Tonight, the bond is sealed from this day forward. You carry the chains of honor. These wives are yours, not by choice but by destiny. The human wanted to shout, to resist, but he felt the weight of the entire village pressing on him. Warriors lined the hall, ready to strike if he defied the law. He was trapped, not in a cage of iron, but in a cage of tradition. Later, when the crowd had left and the hall grew quiet, the human sat alone with the three wives. The first wife refused to look at him, turning her face away in disgust. The second wife sat trembling, her hands tight together. The third wife's calm gaze never moved from his face. Finally, she spoke again, her voice a whisper only he could hear. Do not fight the law blindly, human. It is older than this tribe, older than even the chiefs. If you try to break it, you will die. But if you learn it, you may change everything. The human's heart raced. He had fought the chief with steel, but this was a different kind of battle, one made not of weapons, but of secrets and chains, and in that moment he realized something terrifying. His victory in the arena had been the easy part. The true fight was only beginning. The night was long. The alien village had fallen quiet, but inside the stone chambers of the chief's house there was no peace. The human sat near the fire, its weak light dancing across the walls. He could feel the weight of 3 pairs of eyes on him, but one pair burned hotter than any flame. The first wife stood close, her posture sharp like a blade. Her name was Soraka, and her gaze never left him. Hatred poured from her eyes as if she wanted to tear him apart with nothing but her will. She crossed her arms, her voice cold and cutting. You think you are chief now? You are nothing. You killed my husband and you expect me to bow to you? The human sighed. He did not want her as an enemy, but her anger filled the room like poison. I never wanted this, he said softly. I fought only to survive. But Soraka laughed bitterly, her teeth sharp under the firelight. Survive? You stole his place, you stole my life, and the law forces me to stand at your side, but know this, human. I will never call you husband. I will never accept you. Her words cut deep. He looked at her, strong and unbroken even in grief. He knew that if she wished, she could make his life a living nightmare. She had lived here all her life, knew every corner, every secret, and the tribe would listen to her more than to him. The second wife trembled, watching quietly but said nothing. The third wife only tilted her head as though waiting to see what would happen next. But Soraka did not stop. She stepped closer, her finger pointed at him. Do you think they will follow you? You are a stranger, an outsider, a weakling who stumbled into victory by luck. You will not last. The tribe will turn on you. And when they do, I will be the one leading them. The human's chest tightened. He had fought the alien chief with steel, but this woman's words were sharper than any weapon. For a moment, he wondered if she would slit his throat while he slept. He met her glare, refusing to step back. If you want me dead, then do it now, he said quietly. But I will not run, not this time. Her eyes flickered with surprise. She had expected fear. Instead, she saw defiance. And for a brief second, something else moved across her face. Conflict, doubt, perhaps even respect. But it vanished. Quickly, replaced by the same cold hatred, she turned away sharply, her voice like stone. Do not mistake my silence for mercy. I will never forgive you. Then she stormed from the chamber, leaving only the echo of her footsteps behind. The fire crackled. The second wife, with tear-filled eyes, whispered, She is dangerous. She loved him once, or at least feared him enough to obey. Now she has lost everything. She will not rest until you fall. Her hands trembled as she spoke. The human nodded, his heart heavy. I know, he whispered back, but I cannot fight her with a blade. The third wife finally broke her silence, her calm voice cutting through the tension. Soraka is not just his widow, she said. She was his strength. She knows the tribe better than anyone. If she turns them against you, no law will save you. Her eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. But hatred can be turned if you are patient. The human leaned back, his body aching from the duel, his mind burning with fear and questions. He had won the fight against the chief, but Soraka was a battle of her own, and unlike the duel, there would be no clear rules. He closed his eyes, feeling the heat of the fire, and for the first time, he wondered if the real enemy was not the tribe outside, but the hatred growing inside the very walls of his new home. The chamber was still. The fire burned low, sending shadows crawling across the walls. After Soraka's storm of hatred, silence pressed heavy on the air. The human sat with his back straight, his eyes heavy. His body longed for rest, but his mind stayed sharp, for even in victory he felt surrounded by unseen enemies. The second wife sat apart from the others. Her name was Lyra. She had not spoken much since the duel. Her hands trembled as they rested in her lap. Her eyes glistened, catching the faint glow of the fire. She was younger than Soraka, softer in face and voice, but there was a deep sadness in her that weighed more than anger ever could. Finally, she lifted her gaze, meeting the human's eyes. Her voice shook. "You are not like him," she whispered. "Not like the chief." The human tilted his head, unsure of her meaning. He took me by force," Lyra continued, her words breaking like thin glass. "I never chose him, never wanted him. I was given as part of a treaty. I was a gift, a token, not a wife." The human's chest tightened. Her pain was raw, and every word cut deep. He had fought for his life in the arena, but this woman had been fighting for hers in silence for years. He said nothing, afraid his words might break her further. Instead, he listened. Tears rolled down Lyra's cheeks. Her voice grew stronger, though her body trembled. "I prayed for freedom every night. I dreamed of escape. But chains held me here, not chains of iron, but chains of fear. If I ran, they would hunt me. If I resisted, they would punish me. I was never seen as a person, only as something to own." She looked away, her shoulders shaking. "Now the chief is dead, and you stand here, and I don't know whether to thank you or fear you." The human leaned forward, his voice low. "You have nothing to fear from me." Lyra blinked, her tears falling faster. "How can I believe that? You are part of this law, this cruel law that binds us like cattle. Even if your heart is different, the law has made me yours." She covered her face with her hands, sobbing softly. For a long moment he was silent. His thoughts swirled. He hated the law more than anything. It had forced him into chains as much as it had them. He wanted to tell her she was free, but the truth burned on his tongue. Freedom was impossible here. The tribe would not allow it. The third wife, who had been watching quietly, finally spoke. Her calm voice broke the silence. "Her tears are real, human, and so is her fear, but remember this. The tribe watches. They expect you to claim what is now yours. If you show weakness, they will test you. If you show cruelty, they will hate you. Only balance will keep you alive." Her words were sharp, but not unkind. Lyra's sobs softened. She looked at the human again, her eyes red. "I don't ask for love, I don't even ask for kindness, I only ask, don't be like him." Her words carried the weight of years of suffering. The human nodded slowly, his voice firm. "I will not be him." For the first time, Lyra's eyes widened with a glimmer of hope. It was small, fragile, but it was there. The fire crackled, filling the silence between them. Soraka's hatred was like a storm, but Lyra's sorrow was like an endless sea, and the human knew that if he drowned in it, he would never rise again. He lay back against the cold stone, the echoes of her sobs still in his ears. As his eyes closed, one thought burned in his mind. This was no victory. It was another war, a war of hearts, and it might break him more than any battle of steel ever could. The fire had burned down. To glowing embers the human sat with heavy eyes, his body aching from the duel and his heart burdened with Soraka's hatred and Lyra's sorrow. He thought the night had given him all it could. But then the youngest wife stepped forward, silent as a shadow. Her name was Naira. She was the quietest of the three. smaller than Soraka and Lyra, but there was something strange in her stillness. Her gaze lingered on him longer than it should. Her movements were slow, almost calculated, as if she was measuring every word, every breath. The human studied her carefully. "You haven't spoken much," he said softly. His voice was tired, but his curiosity was alive. Naira tilted her head, her dark eyes glinting in the low light. Finally, she whispered, "Words are dangerous when walls have ears." The human frowned. Her answer was odd, cryptic. He glanced around the chamber, stone walls, heavy doors, shadows stretching long. He wondered if she was right. Perhaps even here, someone was listening. Naira stepped closer. Her voice dropped low. "The law you now serve, it is not just tradition. It is older, darker. It was written in blood long before this tribe was born." Her eyes did not leave his. "You think it binds us to you, but in truth it binds you to something greater, something hidden." Her words sank deep into him. "What do you mean?" he asked. His heart beat faster. Naira's lips curved into a faint, unreadable smile. "The law is a cage, but cages are built for reasons. And sometimes, what they hold is not the prisoner, but the key." The human shivered. He could not understand. If her words were a warning or a promise, Soraka's hatred was sharp, Lyra's sorrow was heavy. But Naira's mystery was different. It was unsettling, like a shadow that moved when you weren't watching. She moved closer still, her steps light against the stone. "You are not here by accident," she said. "The duel was not fate. It was guided. You were meant to win, meant to wear these chains. The question is, will they strangle you or set you free?" The human shook his head, frustration cutting through his confusion. "I never asked for this. I never wanted power. I only wanted to live." But Naira's expression did not change. She reached out slowly, her fingers brushing the air near his arm, but she stopped short of touching him. "Survival is only the first step, human. Now comes the choice of how you live and how you rule." The fire cracked, shadows dancing across her face. In that light she looked both innocent and dangerous, as though her calm could turn into something deadly at any moment. The second wife, Lyra, looked at Naira with wide, nervous eyes. "Why do you speak like this? What are you hiding?" Lyra asked. Her voice trembled. Naira's gaze shifted toward her, but she said nothing. Only that faint smile returned, thin and sharp. Soraka, who had returned silently, snorted in disgust. "Do not listen to her riddles, human. She plays games, always has. She whispers secrets that twist into lies." Her hatred flared again, but Naira only turned away, as if her sister's words were nothing. The human sat in silence. His heart was heavy with questions. Who was Naira really? Why did she speak of the law as though it was alive, as though it had a will of its own? He could not trust her completely, but he could not ignore her either. As the night dragged on, the wives finally retreated to their own corners of the chamber, Soraka brooding in silence, Lyra wiping tears from her face, and Naira watching him, with eyes that seemed to pierce the dark. The human lay awake, his blade resting close to his hand, and he could not escape the thought that the youngest wife was the most dangerous of them all. Not because she hated him, not because she wept, but because she knew something no one else dared to speak. The morning came with a heavy sky. Clouds rolled above the alien village, dark and restless. The human stepped out of the chief's stone hall, and the air felt heavier than before. Everywhere he walked, eyes followed him. Some stared with hate, some with fear, and a few with something else. Curiosity. Whispers chased him down every path. "He is only a man. He killed our chief. The law binds us, but must we follow him?" Children pointed, mothers pulled them close, warriors spat on the ground as he passed. The duel had been won. But victory did not mean acceptance. The three wives walked behind him, veils lowered. Their presence made the whispers grow sharper. Soraka's glare made it clear she wanted the village to see her hatred. Lyra walked with her head down, tears still fresh from the night before. Naira's calm gaze drifted across the crowd, as if she were measuring every face. At the edge of the square, A group of warriors stepped forward. Their armor gleamed, their spears shone. Their leader spat the words like venom. "You are no chief human. You are a thief who stole with tricks and lies. We do not follow weak blood." The crowd stirred, hungry for violence. The human's grip tightened on the sword at his hip. His voice rang out firm and steady. "I fought by your law. I won by your law. If your law means nothing, then your words mean nothing too." His defiance made some gasp. The warriors scowled. But before they could answer, the elder struck his staff against the ground. "Silence!" the elder roared. His voice was sharp as thunder. "The duel of honor is sacred. The human stands as chief. Any who deny it, deny the ancestors themselves." His words stopped the warriors, but their eyes still burned with hate. The human knew they would not forgive him so easily. That night, the village grew restless. Fires burned in every corner. Groups gathered to argue. Some spoke of killing the human before he grew strong. Others whispered of testing him, pushing him until he broke. Yet a few voices were different, voices that wondered if perhaps the human could bring change. Inside the hall, the wives argued among themselves. Soraka's anger filled the chamber. "They are ready, human, ready to rise and tear you apart, and I will not stop them. I will stand at their side if it means your end." Her words were sharp as blades. Lyra flinched, tears filling her eyes again. "Enough, Soraka. Enough death. Enough blood. I cannot bear another war." Her voice cracked with fear. She turned to the human. "They will kill you. They will kill us too. You must find a way to end this before it begins." Naira stood in the shadows, silent at first, then she spoke calm and clear. "The tribe is divided. That is dangerous, but also powerful. Division means weakness, but weakness can be turned to strength if you are clever. If they are against each other, they cannot stand together against you." The human listened, his heart heavy. Soraka wanted his death. Lyra begged for peace. And Nira whispered of secrets and strategies. 3 wives, 3 paths. He felt as if he were standing on the edge of a cliff. One wrong step and everything would fall. That night, when the village drums faded and the fires burned low, shadows moved in the dark, warriors gathered with blades ready. The human felt the chill crawl up his spine. He was not safe. Not in the hall, not in the village, not even in his sleep. The duel had given him victory. But now the village itself was a battlefield. A battlefield made of whispers, hatred, and shadows. And the human knew the first strike was coming soon. The night was deep, the moon hidden behind heavy clouds. The alien village slept, but not in peace. The human lay in the chief's chamber, his sword close by. His eyes refused to close fully. Every sound in the dark seemed louder. Every shadow seemed alive. He knew the hatred of the tribe would not stay silent for long. Soraka slept far from him, her back turned, her anger burning even in her dreams. Lyra curled in a corner, her tears drying on her cheeks. Naira sat awake, her calm eyes fixed on the door as though she expected something. The fire was low and the chamber was heavy with silence. Then it came. A soft scrape against stone, a whisper of movement outside the door. The human's hand gripped his blade instantly. His breath slowed. His heart thundered. He knew the sound of hunters. The door creaked open. Shadows slipped inside. 3 warriors armed with curved blades, their faces covered in war paint, their eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. They moved with the silence of predators, ready to strike. The human rose in an instant, his sword flashing in the dim glow. Steel clashed against alien blades. Sparks burst in the dark. The wives woke with startled gasps. Lyra screamed. Soraka grabbed a dagger from the wall, and Naira did not move. She only watched with sharp, focused eyes. The human fought fiercely. His blade met theirs again and again. The room filled with the hiss of steel and the growl of killers. One warrior lunged for his chest, but the human twisted, slamming his sword through the attacker's side. Blood splashed the stone floor. The warrior fell, but the other 2 pressed, harder. Their blades cut across his arm, burning with pain. He staggered, his breath heavy. The second warrior raised his sword high for a killing strike. And then, something unexpected happened. Lyra, trembling but brave, threw herself between them. Her cry split the air. The warrior's blade cut across her arm instead of the human's chest. She fell back, blood staining her skin. The human's rage exploded. With a roar, he drove his sword upward, cutting the warrior down before he could strike again. The last warrior snarled. But before he could move, Soraka struck from behind. Her dagger buried into his neck. The warrior fell choking, his blood pooling fast. Silence crashed down in the chamber. The smell of iron filled the air. 3 bodies lay on the floor, and the fire crackled softly as if mocking the death around it. The human breathed hard, sweat dripping down his face. He turned to Lyra, who clutched her bleeding arm. "Why?" he whispered, his voice breaking. Lyra's eyes shimmered with tears. "Because I couldn't watch another life stolen," she said weakly. Soraka stood, her face pale. Her dagger dripped with blood. Her eyes met the human's. Hatred still in them, but mixed with something else now, something unspoken. She turned away quickly as if to hide it. Naira stepped forward, her calm never broken. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "This was only the first strike, human. They will not stop. The village will test you again and again until either you break or you rule." Her eyes narrowed. "But now you know. Your wives are not only chains, they are shields. Some may hate you, some may fear you, but in the end, they will stand beside you when the blades come." The human looked at the blood, on his hands, at Lyra's wound, at Soraka's trembling grip on her dagger, and at Naira's calm gaze. He realized the truth. The duel had won him the title. The law had bound him with wives. But it was the night's attack that revealed something far greater. His survival would not come from steel alone. It would come from the choices of those bound to him. And the question that haunted him was clear. Would those choices save him or destroy him? The dead warriors were dragged out at dawn. Their blood still stained the floor of the chief's chamber. The human stood over the stains with heavy eyes. He had survived the first attempt on his life, but he knew it was not the last. The village wanted him gone, and the law was the only shield he had. The elder entered with his staff. His face was grim. His voice echoed like thunder. "You see now, human, victory in the duel is not enough. The tribe tests you. They will not follow you until you prove you are more than a killer of chiefs." The human's jaw tightened. "They tried to murder me in the night," he said. "And you call it a test?" The elder's eyes narrowed. "The law is older than me, older than all of us. It is harsh, but it is what binds us together." Naira stepped forward then, her calm voice slicing through the silence. "Tell him the truth, elder. Tell him what the law really means." The elder stiffened, his hand tightening on the staff. For a long moment he said nothing, but then his shoulders sagged. He spoke with weight. "The law does not only bind you to the wives, human, it binds you to the power they carry." The human frowned, confusion sparking in his chest. "Power?" The elder nodded. "Each wife carries a bond older than this tribe, older than even the stars we follow. The first carries the will of the warriors. The second carries the voice of the broken. The third carries the wisdom of shadows. Together, they are not just wives. They are the bloodline of power itself. The one who claims them controls the heart of the tribe." The chamber fell silent. The human's pulse quickened. He looked at Soraka, who glared at him with hatred, at Lyra, who wept quietly, and at Naira, who watched with her unreadable gaze. They were not simply women forced into chains. They were keys to the tribe's very survival. Soraka broke the silence first, her voice sharp. "So now you see why I will never accept you. The bloodline should not belong to a human. You have stolen what is sacred, and I will see it restored. Even if I must spill your blood myself." Lyra shook her head, tears falling. "No more blood, Soraka, please. If the law is real, then maybe he can change it. Maybe he can end the pain we have carried." Her voice trembled with hope and fear. Nira's lips curved faintly. She looked at the human. "The law has trapped you. but also given you a chance. No chief before you ever questioned it. They all obeyed. But you are different. You do not belong to their world. That is your curse and your weapon. The human felt the weight of her words press into him. He was not just bound to these women by law, he was bound to a secret that could shake the tribe itself. If he tried to escape, they would kill him. If he tried to rule with force, they would destroy him. But if he found a way to use the truth of the law, he might change everything. The elder struck his staff on the ground. The tribe will soon gather. They will demand to see the strength of their new chief. If you fail, they will tear you apart. If you succeed, the bloodline will live through you. His eyes burned into the humans. Choose your path, human. The law has given you wives, but it is you who must decide if they are your chains or your crown. The human stood in silence, his mind burning with questions. His hand tightened on his sword, his heart pounded with dread. For the first time since his duel, he understood the truth. His greatest battle was not against warriors with blades. It was against a law written in blood, a law that wanted to own him as much as it owned them. The sun burned high above the alien village. Drums pounded in the distance, calling every warrior, every elder, every child to the great square. The human stood in the center, his sword at his side, his chest tight with the weight of what was coming. This was no duel. This was judgment. Around him the crowd gathered. Their voices rose in a storm of whispers. He is not one of us. He wears the chief's title, but not the chief's blood. The law binds him. But can he rule us? Their eyes were sharp, hungry, waiting for a reason to cast him down. Beside him stood the three wives, bound not by chains but by tradition. Soraka's face was carved from stone, her eyes full of fire and defiance. Lyra trembled, her eyes swollen. From tears, her heart torn between fear and hope. Nyra stood calm, unreadable, her gaze like a shadow that saw more than it revealed. The elder lifted his staff, his voice carrying over the crowd. People of the tribe, the duel of honor has been won. The law has been spoken. The human stands as chief. But his rule is not yet sealed. Today he must prove not only his strength, but his heart. The human's breath caught. His heart? He had fought with steel, bled for survival, faced hatred and fear. But now they wanted more. They wanted something deeper. The elder pointed to the wives. He has inherited not only the title, but the bloodline. The wives are his bond, his chains and his crown. His choice among them will shape his path. Who will stand with him? Who will rule beside him? And who will turn against him? The square erupted with noise. The human felt their eyes burn into him. He looked at Soraka first. She glared back, her voice sharp and loud. Choose me, and you will have warriors at your side. But know this, human. I will never love you. I will never forgive you. I will stand with you only for the tribe, not for you. Her words rang like iron. He turned to Lyra. Her hands shook, but her voice rose, fragile but full of longing. If you choose me, you will have my heart, but I cannot promise strength. I can only promise loyalty. I have suffered enough. I do not want power. I only want peace. If you give me that, I will stand with you forever. Tears slid down her face, her honesty breaking the silence. Finally, his gaze turned to Nyra. She tilted her head, her eyes deep as the night. Her voice was soft, yet it carried to every ear. If you choose me, you will not walk the path of tradition. You will walk the path of secrets. I know truths the tribe hides, truths that can free you or destroy you, but if you walk with me, there will be no turning back. The human's chest ached. 3 women, 3 hearts, 3 paths. Each choice would decide not only his fate, but the fate of the tribe. Soraka offered power but with hate. Lyra offered love but with weakness. Nyra offered knowledge but with danger. The crowd waited, the drums pounding like a heartbeat. The elder's eyes locked on him. Choose, human, he thundered, or the tribe will choose for you. The human closed his eyes. His mind raced. His hand trembled on the hilt of his sword. He had never wanted this. But now the lives of 3 women, the trust of a tribe, and his own survival hung on the words he would speak next. And as he opened his eyes to the roaring crowd, he knew that whatever he chose would change everything. Forever. The square was silent. Every eye in the alien village burned into the human. The drums stopped, the air heavy like a storm waiting to break. He stood with his sword at his side, his breath slow but sharp, 3 wives at his back, each waiting. For his words, Soraka glared with fire in her eyes, her stance strong and unyielding. Lyra trembled, but her gaze begged for hope. Nyra remained calm, unreadable, her voice still echoing in his mind. Truths that can free you, or destroy you. The elder's staff struck the ground. Speak, human, who will stand beside you? Who will share your bond, your rule, your bloodline? His voice thundered. The crowd leaned forward, warriors clutching their spears, children clutching their mothers. The human lifted his head. His voice rang out, steady. I will not choose power, nor fear, nor secrets alone. I will not rule with chains, I will rule with humanity. Gasps spread through the crowd. Soraka's jaw tightened, Lyra's eyes widened, Nyra's lips curved faintly. The elder's face darkened. You dare break the law? He growled. The human's grip tightened on his sword. No, elder, I will not break it, I will remake it. Shouts rose. Some demanded his death, others cried in confusion. Warriors stepped forward, but Soraka raised her hand, stopping them. Her voice was sharp as steel. Wait, she shouted. Let him speak. The human turned to her, to all of them. You call these women wives by force, you call them chains, but to me they are not chains, they are people. I will not own them, I will stand with them if they stand with me, not by law, but by choice. His words struck the air like fire. The crowd roared, half in rage, half in awe. The elder's eyes burned with fury. Fool, the law is sacred, you cannot change it. But Nyra stepped forward, her calm voice carrying across the square. He speaks the truth the law has hidden. The law was never about chains. It was about unity. The bloodline was meant to bind leader and people together, but over time it was twisted. Now the human has reminded us of its true meaning. Soraka's fists clenched, her hatred warred with something else inside her. She looked at the human, his defiance, his fire, and for the first time her glare softened. If you stand as you say, human, then I will fight with you, not as your wife, but as your warrior. Her words shocked the crowd. Lyra's tears fell, but this time they were not of sorrow. She stepped forward too, her voice trembling but strong. Then I will stand as your heart, not because the law says so, but because I believe you will not break me. All eyes turned to Nyra. She smiled faintly, her voice calm. And I will stand as your shadow, to remind you of what the law hides and what it reveals. But remember, human, every choice carries a price. The human raised his sword high, his voice thundering. Then hear me, tribe. I will not rule you with chains. I will not claim women as property. I will stand with them. With you as equals, that is my price of victory. That is my humanity. The square erupted in chaos. Some screamed in anger, others shouted in support. Warriors clashed, elders argued. The tribe was split. But in that storm, a new fire had been lit. The elder struck his staff again, but his voice was drowned by the cries of the people. The human stood with Soraka, Lyra, and Nyra at his side, no longer bound by chains but by choice. And though he knew the battles ahead would be fierce, in that moment he understood. Strength had won the duel, but it was humanity that won their hearts.